good day, everyone. I'm Tim,
And I'm Casey.
and we're here again for another episode of Transcending Consciousness. For this episode, we will talk about the money and the economy. Let's just have a quick rundown of what money is. Money is supposed to be a medium of exchange, so it was an improvement of our barter system, where there was an direct exchange of goods or services. Now we have money, which is the medium that we use now for the exchange of goods and services. In its purest form, money is actually a representation of God's energy. And God's energy should be abundant, and it is within God's will that money is circulated among the common people and not concentrated in the hands of the few. However, we note that there is growing inequality when regards to how the wealth is distributed in the community, how money is being concentrated more in the hands of the few. So what brought about this? It is actually the influence of certain beings, the fallen beings, who manipulated the economic policy to just benefit a certain group of individuals, which we call the financial elite. And this is not in accordance to the laws of the universe, to God's law, wherein abundance should be freely available to all. All people in this earth should experience the abundance.
When you look at history, when the banking system started in the around 1500s, certain group of people offered their service of keeping the wealth of the wealthy elite at those times. So they kept their wealth, for example, their possessions, okay, and then their money, their gold. So in time, those who started the banking system, they developed this idea. Since they are keeping the wealth of the elderly, of the wealthy. Soon they realized that the more money or the more treasures they're getting for safekeeping, they are slowly becoming also richer. Okay, they are becoming powerful, because when those wealthy people died, the children of those wealthy people or the surviving relatives did not take the money. So these banking people started to grow in power. Okay, so they developed systems, accumulating more wealth for themselves. But in fact, what they offered was just the service that they offered was the money, the amount of money they receive is not equal to the service they're giving for the people. So in time they grew in power, and then they developed their system. So all of us, they developed the financial system. Or all of the industries now follow their created laws, their standards.
So let's ask again, review the history. So what is the economy in the past, like in BC, before Christ? So there's the presence of slaves. At that time, slaves were treated as property. Now we know that there's an inherent humanity in all. It's only when people raise a certain level of consciousness that it became obvious for people, that one should not have the right to own other people, because there's that essential humanity in all people. And we can see this through the civil war in the US that pit the two opposing camps, which is pro-slavery and anti-slavery. But now there is no question, even in the lowest parts of the earth where there is a very low level of consciousness, they still believe that obvious slavery is not right. So what happened is, because there's that raising of consciousness, people abolish slavery, there's actually growth in society. So it is actually in our enlightened self-interest to have all these riches and abundance available to all and not just a few. Look at the Middle Ages, the feudal system wherein all these kings, this royalty, the nobles would just stay in their castles, and we have these common people to toil in the lands and to give them part of that earning. So it was the Dark Ages. Similarly, it was the people lost their hopes and dreams to improve their life because most of the work that they're getting goes to the pockets of this elite. So this is not a very good economic system, and that's why it was called the Dark Ages. So what happens when there was the French Revolution and all this revolution that overthrew many of the royalties in the Europe? There is the growth in consciousness. There was this resonance. There was this industrial revolution that brought tremendous progress in the world. You can see by these examples that it is actually for the benefit of even the rich people to have all people have a substantial amount of wealth for their daily living and for their recreation. If you can see here, what's happening, sometimes, in the companies, they do not treat people as people. They treat them as simply labor costs. And if you look at in your own homes, do you treat your helpers? Are they just labor costs for you and include them in humanity, like providing them with just wages that will help them improve the quality of life of their family, give them benefits when they are sick. So they are not just labor costs, they are human beings. So this is what I call failed slavery, because all these companies that take advantage of their employees, and then when the employees get sick and cannot work anymore, they simply replace that employee without covering the cost of healthcare, covering the cost of hospitalization, or if they have a family member who died or is in the hospital, without looking at that essentially. They are just treated as costs who can, when they are no longer valuable to the company, be replaced regardless of whether they've contributed so much for like 10 years working in that company. They would just be let go as if they were nothing. So with this, I want you to look at how you treat also your household help. Do you treat them as someone who just is there to prepare your food, clean your house, and then when they get sick, you decide that they're no longer needed, and you bring them to the provinces and do not help them with their medical bills. So that is veiled modern slavery. What else? So you can see that most of the countries in the world have a democratic government. All of us have democracies, but what can you see about these big multinational companies? They are a dictatorship, because only like the CEO, the board of directors, would decide the progress of that company. What about those in the lower management, in the lowest tier of the company, like the janitors, the cleaners, the guards? Don't they have a say for the company? Even if they've worked 10, 20 years? So I think it is what I envision is in the future, there will be the rising of companies with shared, I would say, vested interest for all employees. Like all employees should have dividends in the company because while they're serving the company. This will give motivation for the employees to work hard, and also will improve the quality of the work quality in the company, and might also lead to the increase in the sales, because better work ethics, very efficient work, it will help in the raising of consciousness. If we look at it, this is actually the next step for these multinational companies to be able to have this kind of environment that employees are not just employees but shareholders.
In addition to what Tim said, another thing that we can do in our society is when we apply transparency in our business model. For example, we place the cost of our products, the true cost of our products below, and then the retail price of our products, and see if our customers would also if they would agree with the price increase that we applied in our products. In reality, when we in conversations with God, it was mentioned there that when we actually know the true cost of the current products that we have, we will be shocked at how these big companies increase or inflate the actual price of their products. But in fact, they only got the resources of their products free from nature. And then, from there, they demanded to place this very expensive price tag to their products, so that to think that it is a luxurious product, but in reality, it is not. One way that we can improve our societies or the business model is to show some transparency in our in the way we conduct our business, so that everyone can know the truth, and the customers can actually bargain if they agree with the price increase. The businessman can actually haggle with the customer and give them a fair price. Also, I remember in conversations with God, it was mentioned there that we can actually end world hunger or poverty in one day. Why? The money invested by all countries for their military. Okay, imagine if we do not see each other as enemies. Imagine if we see each other as friends. Okay, so we do not need the military. Okay, we do not need to spend trillions of dollars investing in military equipment, because those creating military weapons like tanks, airplanes, those weapons of mass destruction, they are actually promoting the war economy. So they are actually profiting from those things. So they do not want peace. Okay? They want us to fight each other so that they will enrich themselves. Okay. So once we can abolish that, okay, once we realize that we are not enemies, that they are our brothers in other countries, then the money invested for the military for the entire world can be diverted for feeding everyone. Okay, I guess we can end poverty at once. We can end world hunger at once, and then we can give shelter to those people in need of shelter. So we do not actually need to spend more, to give more taxes, because our governments, they already allot money from the taxes, and they spend it in the military. So once we raise our consciousness, we do not need to spend things for the military or for the war industry, and then we can divert it to all our brothers in need of food and shelter. I'm sure you have heard the saying, 10% or maybe 1% of the world's population, they control 90% of the world's resources. Okay, and then the rest of the population, they only have access to very few. So you see the inequality here. Okay. What we are trying to say is that these elite, this group of people, these fallen beings, they are so lazy. They do not want to work for themselves. Okay, they want others to work for them. Okay.
Yes, and I actually remember this saying. I don't know who said it, but I remember a friend quoting it like, "I'd rather take 1% of your work rather than do 100% of my work. So it's basically telling us that this kind of philosophy exists in the business world, that a person would rather like take 1% of the earnings of a lot of people rather than work by himself.
So yeah, not just in our time. If you look at history, these people, they want others to work for them. Okay, so that's the problem in our society right now. But you see, yes, Tim is also right. We also have that in us. Okay, at some level in our being, we sometimes we feel lazy. You just buy things, or instead of making something, we just hire others to do the work for us, and we just try to pay them minimally. Okay, so yeah, each of us, we have that trait also in us. So we have to change it so that we can manifest a better society. Okay? Once we start changing in ourselves, once we start to realize that these people, the workers that we are hiring, they must be compensated properly with the service they are giving to us. So that's the proper idea. Okay, so yeah, in the future, that hopefully in the future we will have a better economy or better business model. That yes, that's one part that our employees, or they can have a small share in the company, so that they will also give their best to improve the company. If they are only receiving minimal wages, you will expect that they will just go to work. They don't, they will not give the extra mile. But if you give them something extra, they will also give their more effort in the company. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. So more money will come back to us. So instead of worrying about cost because of the salary, they will give their best once they have a share of the company, a small share of the company. So it's a win-win for all of us. So we should try to see in ourselves, if we have that mentality of paying our employees the minimum wage, only treating them as cost, okay, and then we should start sharing.
If we look at this closely, it is already present. If you look at the Scandinavian nations, there's no rich people there. The rich people are concentrated where? In London, New York, but not in Scandinavia. But there's also no poor people there, because there's a very minimal wage gap between the people living in these nations. And because of that, everybody have a high standard of living, even if we know that it's a high cost also, but everyone can afford it in that country. So this is what we want. There's less wage gap between the population of a certain nation, which can lead for all people to have that purchasing power, and therefore the economy will grow, and people would like to live there, because there should be less crimes, no poverty, and good governance.
I remember in Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, book 2, they were talking about how to improve the economy, and one of the ideas presented there was to have a limit for those company owners to have a certain limit of income, for example, around 50 million net income a year. And then the rest, once you exceed that limit, you should start distributing it down to the other members of the company, the employees, the managers. So yeah, that's also a nice also a nice idea, that we should actually distribute the money to the managers, to the middle managers, to the employees, so that they will have increased purchasing power, and they can also buy the products being sold by the company or from other industries. So that's a great idea.
Yes, and if you look at how the taxation here in the Philippines works, most of the people who are taxed are those who earn so little, and we have a ceiling. Like, even if you earn like 1 billion pesos, you're gonna get taxed only 33% My idea is as you earn more, you get taxed more. So there should not be like a maximum percent, 33%. Whether you earn like 2 million pesos or 2 billion pesos, you will be taxed 33%. So it's quite unfair. And if you look at it, only individuals can be taxed. So what do some rich people do? They place their money in corporations. And if they place it in corporations, they can have loopholes wherein they don't pay taxes as well. Look at what happened to ABS-CBN. I know they have good news. They have, they are leading telecommunications network broadcasting company. But can you see how they treat the people? I mean, not paying correct taxes. They're earning a lot, but they're not willing to pay the taxes to the Filipino people. And they do it actually, it's not illegal what they're doing. It's only immoral. But they forgot what's the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law of taxation is that there would be money for the community. But if the people who are rich will try to escape this obligation, it will happen. It's just the poor people who gets poorer. But all these rich people, they accumulate wealth that they can't even spend for their lifetime. So again, another point of discussion is the addiction to money. So many people are addicted to money. So even like if you have people who have all the money in the world, they couldn't spend what they currently own in their lifetime in 100 years. Still, they want to earn more and not, pay their employees well. So it's just unreal if you look at it. I mean, I'm sure for us who are like in the middle class, we're gonna say they have so much money, but they're just wanting to earn more and not paying correctly. That is because of the influence of certain, fallen beings in the emotional realm that, place this emotion, this idea in people that you can never have enough money. Or there is this fear that you will lose your money. So these two drive these people to accumulate and accumulate more wealth. So, but you also have to see if this kind of idea, this belief is found within our being. Do we have that idea that we can't get enough of money? Like there's always that desire to earn more and more. I mean, there's nothing wrong with desiring to have a little bit more for certain expenses, but if you look at it for the super rich, it's already past the point where it is justifiable. So just look at it in yourself and see, do you have this drive to just earn more and more money without thinking of, do I need this money? What will I do with it? Or without helping other people in acquiring that same level of affluence. So I guess first, if you're a business owner, you think of your employees. If you are in the home with household help, you think of sharing your wealth to your household help, and just treating all human beings as human beings and not just as labor costs or an overhead.
In addition to what Tim said a while ago, so remember the rules of the company. Okay, actually our constitution was created to serve the oligarchs. Okay, and the company loopholes the rules in taxation when it comes to the power of the company. It was created, to serve the purpose of these power elites, so they will not give money, return money to the population. So yes, these power elite, these fallen beings, they have their own groups. Some of them want to overthrow others. Some of them want to be the richest person or the richest company. So they all control these rules created so that to serve their purpose, to enrich themselves. Okay, and then yes, it's because of our mentality that we feel that the world, the resources is not enough for everyone, that we are trying to hoard. Okay, so yeah, this group of people, they show in the movies and in the media that there's not enough for all of us. The vaccines are not enough. or for example, the rice is not enough, the products are not enough. So that's what they want to tell us. That, yeah, there's not enough. So we try to hoard instead of sharing our service, our resources with other people. So that's one thing that we need to change. Okay.
Yes, and I recently like read like an article saying that if you earn $200,000 a day from the birth of Christ up to now, Jeff Bezos will still have more money than you. So it's actually an illusion that we have scarce resources because we have all the resources in the world. We have all the means and the wealth to have even up to 10 billion people live in relative affluence. But there's the distribution is off. Like 1% of the population would earn like 99% of the wealth in the world. And these people also does not want to share their wealth or just share a very, very minute fraction of what they own. And this is not the way to go. So what will change society? What will change our economy? It is us, we people, realize that many of the laws enacted for our economy are for the elite, for the financial elite. It was not written for the common people. It was written so that this elite will keep their wealth and will keep on accumulating more and more wealth. And you can see us in the example in ABS-CBN. What they were doing was not illegal. It was just immoral. They found a loophole and what they were was illegal. So we must rise up and see the essential humanity in all people. We should rise in arms with our less fortunate brothers and sisters here in the Philippines to realize that everyone should have a suitable standard of living and everyone should have a wages that would support such a living and not reject the idea to like increase the minimum wage. And people are keep saying like if you increase minimum wage, we will kill the businesses. That is just because what the business is so profit oriented. But if you pay people correctly, yes, prices will rise, but all people will have the means to buy them. It was exemplified in Scandinavia, very high cost of living, but everyone can afford it. So we should, strive for changes in the government, strive for changes. And this change will start with you, the raising of your consciousness. It will start small, start in your own household, start in your small business establishment, start where you can influence others, pay proper wages, pay correct taxes, and then it will ripple down. And then we will see a better Philippines. And I know corruption is also a problem, which we've discussed in our previous video. But with the raising of awareness, there would be a mirror reflecting all this corruption in the government, and they cannot no longer hide once we've raised our consciousness and realize and decide for ourselves. This should not be the way. Corruption should not be here in the Philippines. Poverty should not be here. Inequality should not be here. And once we change that in our mind, we decide to be better people, we raise our consciousness, then it will simply ripple effect. It's just how the abolishment of slavery led to progress in the US and the world. So the abolishment of this wage gap, the changing of consciousness in the people will lead to progress in our country. And that is one of my biggest hope.
Yeah, that's well said, Tim. Okay. So yes, sometimes we think that it's our work that provides the money, but it is our being that attracts the kind of work that we have right now. So once you change your consciousness, once you realize, once you connect with the infinite source, with God, then you will view things differently, life will just start flowing with you, and then yes, the your business will become more successful. You will receive more income. For some reason, you will just receive the things that you need to pay. For example, the money will just come when you connect within from God and see that you are one, not just with God, with life, but also with others. So yeah, start from within, and then you will see the difference in your life, and then hopefully it will spread towards others. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. This was a long discourse. I've actually outlined other things to talk about, like communism and capitalism and the stock exchange, but I guess we'll try to discuss all these things in a separate video discussing more about the economy. So thank you. Please subscribe if you're feeling the channel, and you can comment on what topic. So the goal of our channel is the raising of consciousness, the raising of awareness, specifically for Filipinos. And that's why we talked initially about spiritual topics, and now we're delving into more practical ways. That is to bring spirituality into your practical life. That is what our goal is. That is practical spirituality, that there should not be a division between your spiritual work and practical everyday life. That being spiritual in everyday life will lead to improvement not only in your life, but in the life of others, of society. The raising of consciousness will bring more abundance to yourself and to the community and to the entire Philippines. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
and see you next time.